The hardest part about being a Christian was being better than everybody else. Because that's what you have to believe. You have to believe that you have all the answers and that everybody else is wrong. And you can't doubt that either. Doubting God, that's the worst sin. There's a list of sins. It goes murder, coveting your neighbor's wife, and then at the very top, critical thinking.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andy Hall. Yeah, I'm off to a slow start this morning with just Brainbug. How you doing? And Tobin, always good to see you guys. Yeah, I'm starting a little slow this morning. I saw that joke yesterday by, I think her name is Emily Catalano. I've seen some other of her material. She's brilliant. I'll probably be sharing some more of her stuff in the future. I thought she was on point with the levels of sin. You're going to hell anyway. You might as well do critical thinking, right? Jess M, how are you doing? Glad to see that you could make it. Yes, that was Emily Catalano. I believe that's her name. And she's brilliant. I've seen a variety of other of her material. I'll be sharing more of it. I got it from her Instagram page, I believe, or maybe on her TikTok account. But she is super talented, and if she's probably one of the people I would want to try to get on the show or on the channel. I love talking to comedians. I love talking to comedians who were once Christians and now have found the true faith of comedy, the one way. And I think she'd be a lot of fun to talk with because she has other Christian-based jokes, which I'll share with you guys, with you all, in the upcoming days. So she is hilarious. Tune in. That's right. You're going to hell anyway. Yep, you're on the right channel, Junk Shop Library. Gary Priestley, how are you doing? Yeah, I got some stand-up stuff. So you're funny too, Chris. That's yeah. All right. So what else? Hey, hello, tanker. 19K avocados. I don't even know what a tanker of 19K avocados looks like, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty remarkable. Digging ditches today. There's snow on the ground here. I was thinking about just doing the whole show with the camera looking out onto the wonderful winterscape here in the Boston area, because then you wouldn't have to see this. I mean, it might be a win-win. Let's see. All right, so once again, Emily Catalano will be showing. So I'll be showing some more of her material over the next coming weeks, and let's jump to the question of the day. What is the question? I forget even what it is. I just wrote it out like maybe 20 minutes ago. All right, I know why I wrote this. Could you be in a romantic relationship with someone from the other political party? Of course, I am showing my United States centrism. I am aware in parliamentary democracies there are more than one political system. But basically, could you be if you're a Democrat, could you be in a romantic relationship with a Republican? If you're a Tory, or if you're a liberal, could you be on someone from the other side of the bench, so to speak? Because the reason why I'm asking this, I was listening to the 538 podcast yesterday, and there's a study and an article, and it basically tells us something that we already know, that people on both sides of the political fence just don't like each other. And it's there are different reasons for that. One of them, of course, is the radicalization of the Republican Party. When you have one party in a two-party system that hates the other party, it's really difficult to establish warm and fuzzy feelings being a Democrat for Republicans. I'm just going to say that right now. Me personally, I could not be dating somebody or in a relationship with someone who is a Republican. I would find it easier to date someone who is a big L libertarian, and big L libertarians are different from like faux libertarians that you see in Republican circles. Basically, overall, and having been once a big L libertarian, I can wrap my mind around that logic. As against to if you're a Republican these days, and especially a Republican, hardcore Republican, more than likely you're a Christian evangelical. And I just can't get on board with that. It doesn't matter how hot the person is either. Physical attractiveness, it doesn't matter. I just could not be involved, even for a short period of time. Jess M. Well said. No, if we don't agree on fundamental things like human rights, I don't even want to talk to you. You know, I have to tell you, in real life here, I'm not in real, this is real life, right? But outside of the internet, I dimly remember what life was like then. I might have a few conversations with people who I don't agree with whatsoever, but they're usually short conversations. I try to, what I consider to throw like, and this is a term I coined. I think of them as wedge memes, right? Wedge memes. We know what memes are. The Richard Dawkins memes, I think. That the term he first coined or popularized in The Selfish Gene, and because memes are just like these bits of ideas that resonate with people, to boil down a complex definition rather simply. And so when I'm talking with people in real life, and maybe even online too, I just try to make a joke, put in some insight, and then I'm hoping to use that joke as like a wedge meme to hopefully open up their cognitive space a bit to think about things differently. But yeah, you could date a publican. Oh yeah, tanker. This is interesting. The Lone Wanderer bunker. My husband's a registered Republican. I didn't find out until we were married for 5 years. Wow, he kept that in the closet, huh? I think his mom made him when he got his license. Tough. I could see why your husband, Lone Wanderer, would want to keep that secret on the down low. Let's see. I cannot respect a person supporting I imagine that's the GOP. Yeah, tanker. I grew up in the South, and the GOP is a no-go for me. I can see that. It's, and that's an interesting point, right? I live up north here, and the Republicans up here, they typically aren't as radicalized as they are down south. So I think it's easier to date, let's say, a moderate Republican here in Massachusetts than a Republican down in a deep red state. But I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even be involved with someone who was a moderate Republican up here because there would just be too many discussions. There'd be too many discussions. No F. Okay, all right. I got to get to David Paul. No effing way. Good morning, by the way. Is that iambic pentameter? No effing way. Good morning, by the way. I think that's iambic pentameter. Good morning, David Paul. I'm just going to leave this here without a comment. Yeah. They're pretty well, David Paul, there are a lot of radicals in Ohio, because Ohio, from what I understand, has actually become a red state. It used to be a swing state, but over the years, thanks to Trumpism, Ohio is now, from what I understand, a firmly red state. There might be a light red state. It isn't Alabama, but from what I understand, Ohio is pretty much in the Republican camp most of the time. All right. So, I did date someone who was a big L libertarian. when I was in my current political form, and that was difficult too. But we had so many other issues in that relationship. So many other issues. That was just like a back burner issue right there. All right, so let's go on from the question of the day, if we're all done with whether or not anyone could be in a relationship. Oh, wait, I have a note here from myself to myself. As you all know, I do a set list to remind what I'm supposed to be doing on the show. And I should be thanking patrons like Wild Eden, Jess M, Tons of Mice. They're just a few of my patrons, and I don't take enough time to thank them because there's no explanation. So thanks for the people who do support the show. I do appreciate it. I know times are tough. Money is short, and we're all just trying to muddle along. So that being said, let's do a couple of laughs, right? Let's do a few more laughs. And you know what? For people who are just watching the show right now, I just want to play this over again because I love this clip so much. I'm just going to play the intro bit.
I think the hardest part about being a Christian was being better than everybody else. Because that's what you have to believe. You have to believe that you have all the answers and that everybody else is wrong. And you can't doubt that either. Doubting God, that's the worst sin. There's a list of sins. It goes murder, coveting your neighbor's wife, and then at the very top, critical thinking.
Yeah, I just like that bit so much. All right, let's get to some funny images, some funny memes here. Okay, so the different kinds of jokes, right? And for those of you who like puns, congratulations, you're going to get maybe an epic pun coming up here. For those of you who don't like puns, don't worry. There'll be other jokes, non-punishment jokes. Roll the meme. Wait, I'm a talking tree. And you will dialogue, but bump. Oh man, I know it's stupid. I know it's a stupid joke. But can't we engage in dialogue? I'm sorry, not sorry. Oh man, punish us indeed, Gary Priestley. Indeed. Why is that showing up? It's supposed to be showing up. Oh, junk shop. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is interesting. Negative Gods says, I play golf with some conservatives and we just don't talk about politics at all. I think for like a game of golf where there is a focus, where there is something that you're doing together, it's easy not to talk about difficult things, right? Even when golf, when there's like, some space, it isn't really a fast-paced game, right? But there is something to focus in on. And so I could see how you could play golf with someone who's, a Republican and not talk about politics at all. Oh, here we go. Simply Secular. The logistics of that are terrible. They are. And Gary Priestley, would you tell that in person? No, I would not. I would not do that at all. All right. This is the one that I made. It's a play. It's a play of words. And like many of my jokes, it isn't very popular. See, I always seem to feel like I have to explain my own stupidity. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's it. But let's go to the next one. If evolution is true, then why aren't we all Jesuses? I don't know. This is just a okay. All right. So the next one is better, and I promise that. But it does raise an interesting point that young Earth creationists. There's all these people who say that that, if evolution is true, why are there still monkeys? And so, yes, maybe I've said that before. If evolution is true, then why aren't we all Jesuses? Just to F with people. Half the things that come out of my mouth, I'm just looking to F with people, to tell you the truth. But I thought putting Ken Ham in there along with the dinosaur with that joke, I thought that was spot on. Oh, come on. That joke was tremendous. Yes, the dialogue joke. Julie Lavoie says, I don't talk politics with my family except for when it involves their health. It's weird that things that prenatal care are political care. It's not just prenatal care, but also end-of-life care too, right? Or vaccines, or masks, or any of that stuff. Somehow, this kind of Christianity that we have here in the States, it has gotten into every single nook and cranny of family life, political life, economic life. And yeah, man. Junk shop. Anyone who still doubts we come from Iraq hasn't seen Ken's face. Kaboom. Kaboom. All right. Last one before we start talking about the news stories. We do have a few news stories. I just want to talk about those before we get to the last jokes. We're going to be talking about the Proud Boys, medical. So the Proud Boys is one particular story we're going to be talking about, and what Canada is doing about the Proud Boys. Something we should be doing here in the States, by the way, of course. Medical expenses and how people are crowdfunding medical expenses, new regulations on masks, and of course, the connection between QAnon and evangelical Christianity. So those are basically the news stories we're going to be talking about. But last is the greatest, I believe, of the memes, of the three memes that we're going to be showing today, that I'm going to be showing today, that we will be enjoying today. Let's take a look. If you read the Bible from Judas's point of view, it's the story of a concerned citizen infiltrating and successfully disbanding a dangerous cult hell-bent on convincing the world they'll be better off after they die. Let me read that again. If you read the Bible from Judas's point of view, it's the story of a concerned citizen infiltrating and successfully disbanding a dangerous cult hell-bent on convincing the world they'll be better off after they die. I've never read the Gospel of Judas. I think I think that's a good take from Judas's point of view. Well, yes, Judas was the hero in some ways, and even with Christians, even Christians would have to say that if God's plan was to have Jesus crucified, and God chose all this at the beginning of time, if God decided on this at the beginning of time, then Judas would have to be a hero. He's part of the plan. And arguably, Judas is much more important to God's plan than any of those disciples you don't really hear a lot about, right? There's a lot of disciples that you're like, yeah, I know he's a disciple, but what did he do? You know about Judas, and you know about how important his part of the plan was. So I think even if you're, Judas would have to be considered to be a hero. Oh, Julie the voice, thank you very much. Please hit that like button. Thank you. Thank you. Brilliant take, indeed. Oh, Julie LaVoy says, now I want to rewrite the Gospels from Judas's point of view. Oh, yeah, that'd be money. That'd be perfect. Negative God. I have some evangelical members, and they would regret ever broaching the God subject with me. Oh, well, yeah, I can see that. I try to disincentivize. Certain topics. Or at least, if a person is going to breach a topic with me, then they would have thought about it first, right? Because I know I'm that way, right? There are some people that I know are much more intelligent and faster, rhetorically speaking, than I am. And when I'm around them, it's like, I think I'm going to watch myself a little bit more. I'm just going to watch my words, parse out my language a little bit. And that helps me be a better thinker, to tell you the truth, because I'm less likely to talk a lot of smack. And I try to do that with people who might want to say crazy things to me. I want to create this field of anti-Dunning-Kruger. I want to create an anti-Dunning-Kruger field around me, so people think before they say something. God's plan, Gary Priestley, indeed. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Proud Boys. No, not that hopping, not that jumping Duran Duran song. Was that Proud Boys? Proud Boys. Ba, 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 ba. I don't know if that was the Duran Duran song. I think it was back in like 1987 or so. But we're talking about, of course, the Proud Boys, the would-be brown shirts. I don't even know the German term for it. The Sturmabteilung. But Canada has stepped forward. Proud Boys declared terror group by the House of Commons. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean something bad. I'll say that. Having the Proud Boys declared a terror group by the House of Commons, it's not a bad thing. It is definitely a step forward. Let's see. And once again, all the links to the story sit down in the description. But let's dig into this. The government is one step closer to classifying the Proud Boys a terrorist entity in Canada after the House of Commons voted in favor of the move. The motion was introduced by the new Democratic Party leader, Jagmeet Singh, and passed unanimously by Parliament on Monday. The far-right, male-only white supremacist group, which was founded in 2015 by Canadian media personality Gavin McInnes, has raised its profile in recent years for engaging in violence at political rallies in the US and Canada. While the motion is symbolic in nature, it calls on federal governments to use, quote, all available tools to address the proliferation of white supremacists and hate groups, starting with the immediate designating of the Proud Boys as a terrorist entity. In order for the status to be official, members will need to formally add the group to its list of terrorist entities, placing them in the same category as terror organizations like Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram. How delicious would that be to have the Proud Boys linked in with Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram, which is, of course, the terrorist group based in Nigeria, I believe. To have Western chauvinists lumped in with Al-Qaeda. Yeah, because isn't that what the Proud Boys call themselves? Western chauvinists. The story continues. Because, that first bit makes you think it's mostly symbolic, but, there is some teeth. There are some effects of just having a House vote on Proud Boys being a terrorist group in Canada. Let's take a look. Michael Kempa, an associate professor of criminology at the University of Ottawa, explains that while the government is saying the move to classify the Proud Boys as a terrorist entity is an important symbolic dimension, the laws still apply regardless of where the group might be based. Practically speaking, though, there are still all kinds of legal consequences from being declared a terror, we're going to call it. They're so bad. The Proud Boys not only is a terror organization, they may be the most terrorist organization out there, at least in Canada. I don't know what the Canadian situation is in terms of terror organizations, but yeah, maybe the Proud Boys, are the most terrorist of the terror organizations in Canada. Declared a terror organization as it's an indictable offense. Just being a member of such an organization and the degree of your membership could influence a judge on how serious a criminal offense they could hand down, says Kempa. He adds that while the move is symbolic for now. It still shows police and prosecutors the power to go after suspected members of the group. They can do this not only through the conventional criminal law that deals with individual suspects, but the ones that target organized networks of terror. And in order to do that, the network's assets are a key target. I think of this like whenever you're watching a gangster movie here or a police show here in the States, and someone brings up the RICO Act. It's like, oh, the RICO Act. We can get them on the RICO Act, which is about interstate commerce. I believe it's something similar to that up in Canada. That's my impression, is that once you're called a terrorist organization, there's a whole bunch of other officially called a terrorist organization. And there's a variety of different tools and punishments law enforcement can use against you. Fingers crossed, it passes the other house and gets signed into law. Let's see what else. But what about Antifa? What about Antifa? Simply Secular. Yep, Canada did do that. Our Move USA. You know what's interesting is that this would be a good thing to call your representative, your senators about, maybe even your state politicians, if you're here in the States, is just calling them up and saying, well, why don't you just declare, or it's wise to declare the Proud Boys a terrorist organization, because they are a terrorist organization. I think that would be a worthy phone call or set of phone calls. Oh, Wild Boys, Duran. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary Priestley. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, God, negative God. I don't understand the branding of certain terrorist groups. I don't understand it. Oh, here it is, Simply Secular. It opens the door for CSIS to investigate using additional tools and makes it easier to charge a person with a terrorist act. Right. All right. So we're going to talk about medical crowdfunding. I saw this story. I think it was on Yahoo Finance. Once again, links are in the description below. And it's a crazy number. It's a crazy number of how many people are using crowdfunding here in the States to pay their medical bills. One of the things we talk about here is that medical bills are the number one reason why Americans go bankrupt, why Americans declare bankruptcy, medical bills. So this story, the study shows how many Americans are actually using crowdfunding sources to pay off their medical bills. So in other words, here is the amount of crowdfunding is being done. What percentage of this total number is being used to pay off medical bills? Let's take a look at the story. New data on Americans crowdfunding medical expenses shows, quote, how bad the situation is. It's not good. Rising healthcare costs over the last decade have led up to a boom in Americans crowdfunding for their medical expenses, according to data published in the Journal of American Medical Association, otherwise known as JAMA. Is that JAMA? I like it to be JAMA. I personally think these kinds of platforms have just shown how bad the situation is. Savine Angral, second-year resident physician at the University of Missouri and one of the co-authors of the report, told Yahoo Finance. This more reflects the ongoing problem with the cost of healthcare than revealing a new issue that the cost is rising. Right. So we have a lovely graph. There's a graph to show you how much people are using crowdfunding to pay for their medical bills. Research between May 2010 and December 2018, 26.7% of the 1,056,455 fundraisers on the crowdfunding site GoFundMe were for health-related reasons. That's more then one in four people using GoFundMe are trying to pay off the medical bills. 1 in 4 people on GoFundMe are using that to pay off their medical bills. And those health-related campaigns sought a collective total of $10.3 billion and raised about $3.7 billion. So these people in need, these people suffering under the weight of medical expenses, they were asking for $10.3 billion. Instead, they got $3.7 billion. There's a lot of people out there who just never made it. I don't know what that means when I say they didn't make it. Well, they didn't make their financial goals. And needless to say, most of those people looking for crowdfunding for the medical bills had to do with cancer. If you look at the link down there, the story, the data shows that a lot of those cases of people crowdfunding for medical expenses is from cancer. And there's this collective delusion amongst a lot of healthy Americans, middle-class Americans, that their health insurance will cover the bills. Oh, what a nice and naive, what a toxic and naive belief that is, that your health insurance will cover your medical bills. No. Once again, 1 in 4 people using the GoFundMe, using it for paying off medical bills, roughly a third of the money sought for, they were able to get. There's a ton of people in need. There's a ton of people who just cannot afford the medical bills, and GoFundMe is only helping them a bit. Brain bug, spot on. Brain bug, spot on. Medical crowdfunding is the same flavor of late stage capitalism. It's disturbing. That's what it is. It's just disturbing. Jess M. I read a story a while back that someone was denied a transplant because they didn't have enough money for the aftercare. The insurance company told them to start a GoFundMe. F them. F the insurance companies. F the Republicans. F them all. And F people who are not fighting for single-payer healthcare system, who aren't looking to put a stake through the heart of private insurance, of for-profit health insurance companies. Those industries need to have. It has to be like a vampire, like a vampire. You put the stake through the heart, you cut off the head, you stuff its mouth with holy wafers, you burn the head in one area, you burn the body in another area, and you spread the ashes in 2 different ways. 2 different spaces. That's what you got to do with for-profit health insurance companies here in the States. Oh, this is interesting. David Paul, that is just that. I'm lucky I was exposed to toxic water at Cape Lejeune in North Carolina in the 80s, so I'm qualified for VA medical. Well, man. Have I ever told you the story about my dad? I'll tell you a story about my crazy Christian dad, right? I lived in Brockton when I was a kid. Oh, this is a tainted water story too, by the way. This is a tainted water story. Now, my dad wasn't stupid. He was crazy as a bedbug, though, and he was cheap. So during the 80s, early 80s too, he wanted some spring water. He wanted some spring water, but he didn't want to pay for it, right? He didn't trust the water in the city I grew up in, we lived in, Brockton, Massachusetts. Brockton was Shoe City, USA, basically, back in the 19th century. And there was still some businesses there, some manufacturing, not a lot, but some. So he would take some empty milk jugs, plastic milk jugs, washed them out, and he would drag my sister and me, because we were forced labor, of course. We would go to this area in Brockton, arguably one of the most toxic areas in the city I grew up in. And I'm not making this up. This is all horribly, horribly true. It's this area, and I've told it a bunch of times to friends, and maybe a couple of times on the channel too. I'm not sure. So we would go to this place in Brockton called the Village, the Lithuanian Village, home to a bunch of these old factories. And he found this little, and there was this little stream that ran through there, and he would just put the jugs up to the stream and take the water from one of the most polluted areas in the city, and he would bring it home, and he would drink from it, and my mom would drink from it, and my sister would drink from it. And I always thought there was something not right about drinking water from just a spring in this heavily industrialized city that we were living in. And actually, so there would be a jug of water in the refrigerator, and then he'd have like other jugs of water waiting to be put into the refrigerator on the shelf going downstairs. And if you took a look at this water, you would see all the sediment filter down to the bottom. There would just be all of this sediment just lying down. Freaking gross. That's my dirty water story right there. Oh, yeah, Gary Priestley. I'm not even going to talk to you about the lead paint in the McDonald's glasses. We'll talk about that another time. Right? It's amazing. And I'm serious about this, too. I joke about... I will refer back to the Romans and how they gave themselves brain damage by putting lead powder into their wines for sweeteners, right? Because that was a common practice back in the Republic and the Empire. They would put lead powder in their wine because lead tastes sweet, and that would give them brain damage. It might explain some of the poor decision making amongst the nobility in the Roman state. But you look at how much we've been poisoning ourselves. I'm not even talking about Flint, Michigan, right? I'm just talking about some low-grade, everyday toxins building up in our system. And I have to wonder whether or not some of these really poor decisions coming from really disadvantaged, poor white people in rural areas, if that's not some form of some kind of either lead poisoning or some kind of environmental poisoning, them living too close to mines, to manufacturing plants, and it just gets into their blood and it gets into their brain and gives them damage. All right, let's talk. I've decided that not only we're gonna sometimes when we cover the news, it can get kind of dark. So in the mid-roll, we're gonna do a mid-roll of something fun, something to put a smile on your face, and this has some language to it. It's a very short bit. But it is going to be fun. If you have virgin ears, any of you, if you have virgin ears, if you find this is going to be like maybe 20 seconds of offensivity, of being offensive. It's not like hardcore offensive. It's a funny little song with a little bit of cursing. All right, I'm just going to show the clip so we could take a breather, like a seventh inning stretch. Here it comes.
I'm bored as fuck up in this goddamn house. Ain't shit to do but put food in my mouth. My mental health is surely going south. Boys, you ain't never lied.
All right. That put a smile on my face, at least. Because I haven't left my house for days. And I find myself constantly grazing at the refrigerator. And I don't think I'd put on weight during the apocalypse. But I know it's a constant fight of keeping myself occupied. Thank my fictitious God for this show. Thank my fictitious God for you all showing up, talking, chatting, so that I have, because not only am I doing something right now, but I take time to like prepare the show, late at night, in the morning. So it gives me something to do besides writing blog posts on my blog, Laughing in Disbelief, on Patheos. This gives me mental focus, that I'm not just crawling up the walls. Well, I do have an extensive library. This just doesn't seem to be it. Brainbug, I put on weight. Ladybug lost weight. What's Ladybug's secret? Is it drugs? Is it drugs? Yeah. Yeah, Tobin, right? That guy. Jamming, definitely. Yeah. Going back to healthcare, Avocados, Tanker Avocado says the U.S. already has universal healthcare plan with the VA, Medicare, Medicaid, covering over 90 million Americans. We can, just spread that out. Just, if it covers 90 million Americans, we have 350 million Americans. I think we could spread that out, especially with the amount of money we have in this country. It's all that stuff. But the problem is for-profit healthcare industries. That's what the problem is. And that's the resistance. That's why people don't want to vote against it. They don't want to vote against, or they don't want to vote for universal healthcare. It's because of the healthcare industries shellacking money into the system. Intermittent fasting, huh? So that's the secret of weight loss, intermittent fasting. Yeah. Julie LaVoy says, I'm not going to say how much weight I put on, but if you watch my videos from earlier in the year and now, you can tell, oh, really, huh? Some people put on weight fast in their face, right? Sometimes people do that. I've always had a geek face. If you look at me when I was in high school, when I was in my 20s, I had I didn't look like this, of course, right? My face is, I'm very lucky with the structure of my face. Sure, I have apnea, right? But I have this youthful Alabama. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to go to the next topic. What's the next topic? Oh my God. I was talking with my kid about this last night, about the new masks, about the new mask protocol we're doing here in the House of Hall, and about how important it is to double up masks. At least that's what some European countries are doing. That's what I'm doing personally. Let's get to the story. Now I got to find the story. All right, here we go. Some European countries move to require medical grade masks in public. The reason why they are requiring medical grade masks in public is because of the British version, or the virus that is ravaging Ireland and the UK, about how it's, I've heard, up to 100% more transmissible than the virus, the classic virus, classic COVID. Let's get to the story. A number of European countries have announced new mask recommendations and requirement, pushing aside fabric masks in favor of surgical masks or medical grade respirators. In Germany, the federal and state governments introduced measures last week making medical masks, identified as surgical masks or KN95 or FFP2 masks, mandatory in stores and on public transit. It also issued a recommendation that medical masks be worn whenever there is close or prolonged contact with other people, particularly in enclosed spaces. Just to let everyone know, I know that we talked about this before. The CDC, the last time I heard from the CDC, they are talking about this more transmissible version of COVID-19 being ascendant here in the States in March. So if you're gonna load up on masks, on like the high quality super masks, this would be the time to tell you the truth. This is it. Let's continue with the story. FFP2 is a European standard promising filtration similar to that of N95 or KN95 respirators. The government said that in light of the new coronavirus variants, medical masks, quote, offer greater protection than normal cloth masks, which are not subject to any standards with regard to their effectiveness. That's the thing, right? I mean, cloth masks. I mean, and here's what's going to be so frustrating about this, are that these anti-maskers are going to say, well, first you said we didn't need masks, and then you said we needed masks, And now you're telling us we need to double up on masks or that the cloth masks aren't good enough. None of this can be true. And that's the thing that anti-maskers, many evangelical Christians do not understand, is that there are that opinions or that policies change with new data. As the virus mutates, our policies have to change to meet the new threat. So what was relevant public policy decisions made 6 months ago, well, those have to change because the situations have changed. All right. In the US, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention continues to recommend that the public use fabric masks, providing that they have at least 2 layers. The CDC discourages the public from using medical masks or N95 respirators, saying they should be conserved for health workers. Non-medical disposable masks are fine for public use, the CDC says. The World Health Organization recommends medical masks for certain groups of people beyond healthcare workers. Among these groups are people over the age 60 and people with underlying health conditions, including chronic respiratory disease, cardiovascular disease, cancer, obesity, and diabetes, as well as people with compromised immune systems. So get serious about your mask game. That's the takeaway from this. If you're not using the hardcore serious masks when you're out in public, especially if you have to be indoors with other people, the thing is to do it. Even when I'm leaving the house now, which I haven't done for days, but when I do leave the house, I have a cloth mask, and there's a pocket in my cloth mask I can put a filter in. So that's what I'm doing myself, is that I am doubling up, putting the filter into the pocket of my face mask. And hopefully that will keep me safe through the time until the time I get the vaccine. But definitely, once again, the new variant is going to be ascendant here in the States in March, and European countries right now are getting more serious about their mask game, so to speak. Hey, Dr. Mordecai, good to see you. Oh, hey, Simply Secular. Heading out. All right, good to see you. Always pleasure. Hope you're here tomorrow. Simply Secular. The heroin keeps me thin. The cocaine keeps me active. LOL. Wow, Julie LaVoice. I have a friend who lost 20 pounds using intermittent fasting. That's impressive, to tell you the truth. That is impressive. Derek Cruz. Good to see you. We were just talking about the new protocols in Europe about putting on masks. Because of the mutated virus that's ravaging through the UK and Ireland, the more transmissible strain, many European countries are suggesting people get more serious about their mask regimen. There's links down in the description, of course, as always. Brainbug says, that's what I'm doing too, filtering a mask pocket. Yep. I think that's the most reason. I mean, that's reasonable for me. At this point, I feel that's a safe alternative. And I feel like the data kind of supports that. Let's see. All right, let's go to QAnon. QAnon. I don't know if that's a nice minor key, I think, for QAnon. This story. You know, we've been talking about the connection between QAnon and evangelical Christianity. And there's the Voltaire quote, isn't it? There's the Voltaire quote that anyone who can make you believe in absurdities, that makes you put on a bison hat and storm the Capitol. Okay, that's paraphrasing Voltaire, but of course the quote is, to paraphrase the paraphrasing of the quote, is that, hey, if someone can make you believe in crazy things, you're more likely to do crazy things too. If you believe in absurdities, you're more likely to do atrocities. And that relationship, mathematically speaking, is just borne out with QAnon. And we got some anecdotal, we got a good story here. We got a good story about QAnon and evangelical Christianity. And it's actually a good story because it's about a person who woke up, who is no longer part of the QAnon conspiracy. And he explains why. Here it is. ex-QAnon follower reveals what made him stop believing in the conspiracy theory. So, I don't know if any of you have been in therapy before, right? But when I've been in therapy, whenever something went well or I handled a situation well, the therapist would say something along the lines of, so what were the steps in making the good decision, right? Trying to reverse engineer how good decisions are, or how I made a good decision. And when I hear a story like this about a QAnon follower getting out of the system and then explaining how he stopped believing in the conspiracy theory, that makes me think, oh, somehow maybe we can use that to help convince. I'm going to cough for a minute off screen. I'm going to mute my mic. Excuse me. Oh, man. This day is just hard on the lungs here. So when I hear about a QAnon conspiracy person, follower, getting out of the system, it makes me want to think, is there a way to help other people get out of QAnon or out of any other cult for that matter? And so that's what interests me. I mean, this is why I felt like this was definitely what's shareable. All right, let's take a look at the story. So we're going to jump in. The story starts off with what QAnon is. We all know what QAnon is at this point. If you're on this show, and if you've been living on Earth, then you know what QAnon is. And you are aware probably that there's a crisis within QAnon because Donald Trump is no longer president. We've talked about this on the show a number of times, that there is a crisis in the house of Q because the prophecies were not fulfilled. After Joe Biden was sworn in as Trump's successor in the White House, many followers of QAnon were either left disheartened that their theory didn't come true, while for others it further emboldened their beliefs. Once again, this is normal. When you look at prophecies that don't come true for these various cults, there are people who double down on the craziness, and then there are other people who say, maybe this craziness is craziness. And we're seeing that right now with QAnon. Some have appeared to have left the conspiracy behind altogether, including one person who took part in a Reddit AMA, which is Ask Me Anything session on Sunday, 24th in January. The individual that goes by the username Dice Blue admitted that they used to believe in many conspiracy theories, including Q, Pizzagate, 9/11, the Illuminati, and Area 51. This is also this little story shows you what we know from the data, is that if you believe in one conspiracy theory, you're more likely to believe in a bunch of conspiracy theories, even if those conspiracy theories contradict each other. So this guy believed in a whole bag of crazy. Q, Pizzagate, 9/11, the Illuminati, and Area 51. Let's continue with the story. Perhaps the most enlightening part of the session was when they asked what their epiphany was. And Dice Blue explained. Honestly, it was a couple of posts made by Q on the Chans, 4chan, 8chan, that seemed highly suspicious because of how ignorant they were of technology. Q posts often had weird syntax as a kind of code. So this is an example of the writing, kind of writing in brackets like this, as if there was in brackets, a secret in using brackets to tell the truth. So I'm not an expert in Q, but apparently the writer, the Q, was writing in brackets, and that was their Enigma code. That was their secret code. That was their Morse code to show people what the truth is, like in brackets. One morning, Q claimed to have shut down 7 FBI supercomputers, named after the 7 dwarves, no less, via satellite hacking. And all the rabid fans ate it up, claiming their internet was running a little bit faster. Yeah. Alarm bells went off in my head because, come on, that's not how any of this works. Using elementary school syntax to form to spell a secret code felt fishy. Yeah, using brackets for a secret code that no one else can. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Felt fishy, and claiming your email in rural Montana loaded faster because 7 supercomputers got shut down by remote hacking was a bridge too far for me. I realized that most QAnon. Oh, this is the sauce, everyone. There's like gravy to the story, and then there's super gravy. We're getting to the gravy right now. I realized that most of the Q believers I had seen were boomers with no idea how technology works, or people my age with no idea how computers work. That day, I Googled QAnon debunked and got out. So it turns out that QAnon feeds on ignorance. It feeds on ignorant boomers in particular, according to this source, according to this person, and just, people his own age who do not understand how computers work. So that's fascinating. That's interesting. But wait, there's more. When asked why they decided to drop all the conspiracy theories, Disbelief explained they felt being brought up as a fundamentalist Christian made them more prone to beliefs in evil forces. I did drop it all at once. Yeah, it was massively humbling to realize I'd been a sucker. I think a huge part of the problem was growing up fundamentalist Christian. Theories about evil evolution, science denial, and the end of the world rapture, return of Christ is all pretty crazy too. There's a strong link between the two. Gosh, there's a strong link between crazy and crazy. Want to see that again. I think a huge part of the problem was growing up fundamentalist Christian. Theories about evil evolution, science denial, and the end of the world, rapture, return of Christ is all pretty crazy stuff. There's a strong link between the two. I have to tell you, when I was a hardcore Christian, I believed in crazy things. Yeah, demons, invisible demons, right? Yeah. And those beliefs, they affect people. If you think that invisible demons out there who are trying to influence your brain and to influence your thoughts, and if you believe that just thinking of a sin is the same as doing the sin, and you're going to go to hell for it, then the idea that these invisible demons are there, you live in a petrifying world. You live in an anxiety, in an anxious world too. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Gods and devils running all around the place. Yeah, you live in a world where you think, there are devils running around the place. It's crazy. Let's see. Full cough experience available for Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Gary Priestley. So yes. Once again, fundamentalist Christianity, according to Disbelief on the Ask Me Anything Reddit, it's a clear relationship between him, his story, being brought up in a fundamentalist Christian home, being in that culture, and believing all these crazy conspiracies, the Illuminati, QAnon, Pizzagate, all of that. There is a clear relationship between all of that. Brainbug says, oh, yes, the fundy strawman of evolutionary theory. Yep, evolution. All right. So so that's it. No, that's not it. We have something to make you smile. Something to help you get through the rest of the day, right? Some funny stuff, some comedy stuff, right? We like to start off on a high note. would like to end off on a high note too, right? To help you get through the rest of the day. So what do I got? Well, first, I actually do have a meme that my kids sent me, which I feel really happy about that she sent me this meme. This was yesterday. Teacher, study harder. You are the future of our country. Me, studying to leave my country. Did I tell you my kid was voted most likely to leave the country last year in her social studies class? Yeah, my kid. This is my kid. Study harder. You're the future of the country. Me, studying to leave my country. Of course, that's not my kid in the image, but it is her feelings about why she's studying harder. All right, let's get to this is crazy. This next funny bit, something that's going to make you feel good, something that's going to put some pep in your step, maybe. I know it did for me. I'm going to show you all this bit, and then I'll come back and wrap everything up. I'll be right back, and enjoy this. It's pretty crazy. I thought, there's different kinds of humor. Obviously, if you read my blog, Laughing in Disbelief on Patheos, it's more wordplay, maybe more highbrow humor. But yeah, I think there's something valid about someone smacking an empty plastic bottle on your buddy's head while playing Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. I thought that Julie LaVoice, wasn't that incredible? Julie, wasn't that incredible? I thought, what a fantastic way to end the show today. What a fantastic way. Gary Vid, right? Great vid. Incredible. Theo. It's wow. It was a really funny bit. I hope that will help propel you for the rest of this day. Right? It's Wednesday, it's hump day. Oh, did I tell you I might be getting a job? Don't worry, I haven't even told anyone this. I got a connection, and I might be getting a work from home job that is actually for the cause too. I can't talk about it right now. It's in the works. Maybe I'm going to get it. I don't know. Gary Priestley, 2 a.m. where you are, huh? Well, I'm just happy that you're here, man, that you got it. Axel is a younger and a bit chubbier. Yeah. Well, Gary, I used to, one, it's 2 o'clock in the morning from where you are, right? And also I used to co-host the show with Chris too. So yeah, Devo meets Guns N' Roses. Negative God. Very nice, Negative God. Well played, sir. Well played. 10 points. So yeah, 4 p.m. there. Wow. I am happy. Let's face it. A lot of my humor, it's not what I think a lot of Americans would consider funny. Being wordy, doing the obscure historical references. I think when I look at my analytics for the blog, there's a lot of people from Commonwealth countries. And it's nice that we have a wide diversity in terms of where people live, who tune into the show, and we can talk about. I'll work for you when you get a job. Highbrow, yeah, highbrow with fart jokes. That's what I do. Everyone, tomorrow, I don't even know what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to do the same thing, kind of, sort of. We're going to be doing news stories. And in case you ever have a news story you want me to cover, you want to talk about, you can always email, text, message me. We can always, just send me stuff. And, typically we're able to get like 4 stories in, 3-4 stories in, share some laughs. So if there's something you really want me to cover, then definitely, you guys know how to contact me. Theoretically, we have to write for an atheist late night show. Well, Sunday nights, 10:30 p.m., Jack Maturkan and I, on this very channel, do a late night show. It's late night for me. It's 10:30 p.m. The show doesn't end until 11:30. Last week, we had Adam Kotz go on. We talked about the evils of capitalism. Really great show. The man wrote a book called Neoliberalism's Demons. It really had a very positive effect on me. Oh, Rebecca. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Kind words. It helps me keep going through this apocalypse of COVID. All right, everyone. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Oh, I'm also doing a best advice ever tomorrow with Jenna Belk. And she's going to be talking about the best advice she ever got. That's at like 11:30 Eastern tomorrow. So I'm doing 2 shows. This show and then a best advice ever episode too. If you ever want to take a look at any of the best advice ever episodes, it's a playlist here on the channel. And we've had people like Thomas Westbrook on the show talking about the best advice he ever got. We have people like Dale McGowan, who is like brilliant. We've had a lot of names that you would recognize. We've had comedians on sharing the best advice they ever had. So, and Brainbug was on best advice ever too. Yeah, that's right. Jen is on to the show tomorrow, Julie. And so, yeah, that's fantastic. All right, everyone, I will talk to you later. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye. Epic pose.